Hey everybody, DJ Lou here. Let's talk about NAMM 2020.
Monday, Tuesday,
On Wednesday,
Thursday, Friday night,
Saturday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Now, as I'm filming this, NAMM is actually just getting underway. So a lot of this information is now just finally trickling in. You know, some of the embargoes are finally being lifted on some of the information. And we can start getting a little bit of direction of where some things are going. And to be honest, there's like 4 companies right now that I know of that has some very interesting things that are going on for this year. Now, the first one that's really interesting is LD Systems and their new flagship, the Maui 44 G2. Now, if you've ever seen the original G1 models, they are this very tall and very stout looking sub setup. I know a couple DJs who have used these. A lot of times they'll actually use only one, and it's a very imposing setup. It has this very interesting look. And now with the G2, they've definitely gone a bit of a different direction on design. Now the sub is definitely more of a taller design, and this is now coupled with a 15-inch sub. This has a 4-inch voice coil and definitely packs a punch. Has a 1500 watt amp on it. SPL is rated at 132 max and goes all the way down to 37 hertz. So it definitely has some rumble for those who have some other column arrays out there that think they just don't have enough punch. This may be something much more satisfying in that category. Now up on top it has 2 stalks, and inside those stalks we have 12, count them 12, 3.5-inch drivers, and on the very top 4 high frequency horns on it. And I honestly don't know if there's other designs out there that actually have dedicated horns on the top for those high frequencies. Hit me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. So this is definitely a very interesting design. Again, it comes in 2 pieces on that, just like the original. This is a very towering and just very, very tall look. So this way, you're definitely going to cut across the majority of your dance floor. The subs themselves come in at 80 pounds, which is actually pretty light in consideration of the type of sound this is kind of putting out. Now, in comparison, I used to have my Yamaha DXS 12s, and those came in at 74 pounds. So it's just a couple pounds more, and you're definitely getting more punch out of something around that same weight class. Now with the tops, they come in at 24 pounds. So overall, this is a fairly compact system. Definitely not like some of the super compacts that are out there, but this is something you could easily roll in and out of an event. Now price-wise, this definitely hurts the wallet a little bit more. This is $22.99 from what I've heard. And yes, this is definitely something on the higher tier of investments. But again, for what I've heard in the past with the original G1s, you should be amazed if you hear these G2s up in person. But we'll find out in April how all this sounds. Now, staying on speakers, we're going to talk about EV and their Evolve 30Ms. And yep, I called it wrong when I saw the manual that was floating out there. I thought we were going to have both a 30M and a 50M. But this definitely seemed to be a fully fleshed out manual of Evolve 30M and also an Evolve 50M. See, this is what I get for looking at manuals and hoping for the best, but I knew some specs just didn't quite look right on it, so I wasn't 100% sure what we were going to be in store for, but we definitely have the 30M, and this is best described as a baby 50. Now we are stepping down a bit in size. Again, the baby 50 thought on this is now we're going from a 12-inch sub to a 10-inch sub, and instead of having 8 3.5-inch drivers, we're now down to 6 2.8-inch drivers. Again, I think sound-wise this will still be fine, totally fine in this. Where this really, really shines is in the mixer. You now have a copious amount of inputs to work with, and it's all going to be controlled via an app. And within the app, you'll also have a 3-band EQ on all the channels coming in, and a 7-band equalizer going out. In addition, you can save up to 5 presets. So if you have an indoor profile, an outdoor profile, things of that nature, you'll be able to save those off. And this is definitely in the direction, I would dare say, more towards live bands than DJs. Now, this is not to say that you couldn't use something like this for ceremony, for cocktail, even dance, maybe. This is where I think we kind of cut the line on this, because the output is definitely a little bit less than the 50s, where we've gone from 127 dB down to 123 dB, and the frequency on the low end cuts off at about 51 hertz. So if you thought that the 50s didn't have enough punch, then these definitely will not have nearly as much punch as the 50s. That being said, for things like cocktail, dinner, even some sound fills for dance, you could easily work something like this in and sound just amazing. I know my Maui 5 Go's that I have, they are definitely on the lower side of a spec side for things like frequency and total output, but they're absolutely amazing ceremony, cocktail, and dinner speakers. So this is something where if you are really looking for something like this to augment in your DJ setup, I think that's the best application for it. These are going to come in both black and white. I don't think we're going to have that delay in the whites like we saw with the 50s, and I think the price is supposed to come in at $12.99 on this. So definitely a very interesting setup. Again, I think this is more live bands than DJs, but I'm sure many DJs can find great scenarios for ceremony, cocktail, and dinner with these. Up next, we have Denon, and wow, have they come up with a ton of product this year already. We've got the 6000 series with both the 6000 and 6000M, stepping up from the 5000s with a bigger screen and a slightly bigger both jog wheel and platter. Definitely approaching close to what the SC 3900s were, and they had the 9-inch platter. The 6000M has an 8.5-inch platter. So I always felt the 9-inch platter was like that kind of perfect compromise of it, but from when I remember playing with the 5000Ms, I was really impressed by it. But I always felt that this was not a product for me, because these are really meant as standalones. And if you have that really tight set that you as a mobile DJ are going in with, and you are managing a fairly small library, I would say, I think this is best. Now, if you are managing something very large, whether you're in Serato, Rekordbox, Virtual DJ, whatever the equation is, and you try moving over to Denon's Prime engine, I don't think you'll be happy with it. I know I have not been happy with it yet. It's definitely lacking a lot of ID3 control. It's also lacking in the realm of just stability and all that. It was constantly crashing on both my MacBooks that I was trying this out, and actually a MacBook from prior when I originally tried out an older version. And I personally still can't get behind engine right now, and I really hope, since it seems like this push for some of the other products we're about to talk about really comes into this engine ecosystem, and if they are really going this direction, I think they need a complete rethink of what engine is doing. Now, as I mentioned, other product, we have the Prime 2, which is basically a Prime 4 baby style, so we're talking a 7-inch monitor as opposed to a 10-inch. And it is definitely 2 channels opposed to 4. It's definitely a bit smaller for those who don't want to basically have to carry around a larger 4-inch controller. Now, 7-inch screen, that might just be a little too small, at least for my eyes. I know getting in my age, my eyes are nowhere near as good as they used to be. So that's something you would have to be considering if you go something to that route. And that leads up to what everybody's really talking about right now, is this Prime Go, a very small, I think it's 10 by 16 if I'm not mistaken, controller that is battery powered. This is definitely something that could either be a game changer, or it could be just something like, oh yeah, that was interesting, next. And I'm honestly not sure where this kind of falls. I mean, I really love Denon. I've always admired their products. I love the SC3900 when I had that. And I still just don't know where to really feel about this whole again ecosystem of engine. Do these products really work great in tandem with each other, with the Prime Go, the Prime 2, the Prime 4, and now the 6000 series as well? They're definitely trying, whether you think about it more of Rekordbox style and whatnot, of creating this all-encompassing platform that you don't have to rely on laptops for. And I admire that concept. But I also think for some DJs like myself with very, very large libraries, and I have a very meticulous and interesting way to access my stuff, that other manufacturers like Pioneer, like Denon, really haven't thought out of how to manage that and really appeal to the wider audience. Now for the fourth company that has something interesting out there, let's talk Rane and the 70. And I'm going to be honest, I did not think this product was real to begin with. First, there was some mock-ups up there of a 62 Mark II, and then this came out, and I still was a little like, is this really real? We can all be burned by Photoshop. But lo and behold, we do have the 70, and it's really an amalgamation of the 72 and the 62. And I really don't know about this because I don't know the direction that Rane is trying to hit here. Are they gearing the 72 towards a standalone at some point with some firmware updates and all that? I mean, it does have USB input in it. There is some potential capability there. But otherwise, the 70 and 72 are in direct competition with each other. And with the 70 coming in, I think the street price is supposed to be around $14.99. I just don't know what Rane is quite doing here. Are they planning two flagships to be side by side? Are they going to ultimately get rid of the 72 because there are too many issues with the screen? Is the 70 just too much like an S9? And I'm going to be 100% honest. I've never been a big Pioneer fan, but I always felt the S9 was just dead sexy. I love the layout of it. I love the simplicity of it. There was a couple features on it, especially when I do manual cues, when I was using Serato, that you had to shift and hit a button. And now you got to do exactly the same now with the 70. The 70 has actually mimicked the loop functionality that the S9 has. So I'm, again, I think I'd rather an S9 than the 70. I think the 70 looks like complete overkill. But that's just my opinion. I'm a 62 fan. It actually took me a while to really appreciate and love the 62, but I really do love it. Maybe if I had a 70, the same would happen. But I just don't know, what are you doing, Rane? Are you starting a whole new nomenclature too? Because instead of 57, a 62, a 64, and all these ending in a number, now we have something ending in a 0. Does that mean the 72 is, not long for the world? Are you going to have an 80 someday? I mean, what is going on? But it'll be interesting to see how this kind of pans out in the coming year. Are people just not going to gravitate to the 72 anymore? Is the 70 going to be the now go-to standard for Rane? Well, there's this weekly roundup. I truly hope you liked it, and if so, make sure you hit that thumbs up on this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Head over to my Patreon page too to help support the channel. Naturally, if you love videos like this and want to see more, check them all out and stay tuned.